What is going on, everybody? Thank you all so much for tuning into this live stream segment of Mika Says Sukasa. And of course, as always, I'm your humble host. Today, I have back with me a very special guest. A lot of you all may be familiar with him from his show on Sputnik Radio. What is it? Critical Hour.
The Critical Hour.
Critical Hour. And he also was the former host of Fault Line.
Yes.
And he's also on KPFK now. He's also the board member of ACLU and his resume, whatever. Okay, Garland's important, everybody. Well, I'd like to welcome you to the show. Garland Nixon. What's going on, Garland? How you doing, bro?
I'm doing wonderful.
I'm glad. I know you're a very busy man. You've been having to deal with a lot. You've been covering stories, and then you're having to cover your own story. So you got suspended from Facebook today or yesterday, right? Yeah. Why did they suspend you, Garland?
It's a really strange story, and I didn't see it coming. So I was just, as I, being like you, I'm sure I'm a news junkie. So I'm always looking through, trying to find a story. What's up? What's new? And I see this breaking story at the Daily Mail in England, and it says, video shows a naked Hunter Biden claiming Russians stole his laptop. Well, initially, I just glanced over it because, let's face it, every 3 or 4 days, that story pops up somewhere. That is a pretty routine story. Literally. You got Hunter Biden, you got a drug binge, you got hookers, and a missing laptop. Nothing to see there. Yeah. That's just, that's Monday, right? But after a while, I thought, okay,
crack
maybe
specifically mentioned this time. So
exactly. So I'm like, okay, maybe it's different this time. So I look at it, and they got the video. And I'm like, oh, great. So I'm looking at the video. So I look through this. I'm like, okay. And then it struck me, because when you get to the end, at the end of the article, he's talking to a prostitute, and he specifically says that he believes that his laptop was stolen by his Russian drug dealer, and that they may try to blackmail him because his father's running for president. And I'm like, that sounds exactly like the allegations in the Steele dossier, right? Yeah. So I put that up, and I put, this is exactly like the allegations in the Steele dossier that turned out to be an absurd fiction. It's pretty clear. You read the article, you look at my little caption, it's straightforward. They alleged compromise, right? The Russians have compromising information on Donald Trump, and they're going to use that to blackmail him. But this is a videotape confession in which Hunter Biden says, I think the Russian drug dealer stole my stuff and they can use it to blackmail me. Okay, so you get the picture. I set it all up. I put it up. I go back on Facebook a little bit later, and it says, you've been restricted for 3 days. You can't post. Click here to find out why.
And they give you a reason? Did they give you a reason, Garland? They give you a reason?
No. And I click here, and it just says, you posted this. And it had that. And I'm thinking, somewhere. So I'm scrolling down thinking somewhere it's going to say like you violated, or maybe there was naked women in there, or maybe something like that. I don't know. Nothing. It was only you posted this. And I'm thinking, well, I do remember Jen Psaki, Biden's spokeswoman, saying, we're looking all over Facebook to see if we can find anything that we don't like. And we're going to say to Facebook, take it down. I thought, yeah, well, maybe this is an example.
Well, it's not like we don't have precedent, right? Clearly, the Biden administration and the entire neoliberal establishment has had no problem with openly censoring accurate information that could harm Joe Biden via Hunter Biden's binges. And it's interesting that you bring up the projection, right? This is exactly what they accused Trump of. Well, they also accused Trump of working with Russia, and we found out it was actually Hillary that had this illegal bargain of selling 13 or was it 20% of our nuclear uranium, and that turned out to be actually Hillary. That was it. They said that Trump's campaign and the Republicans were pushing Russian bots. And then it turned out that it was actually new knowledge on behalf of Doug Jones that was actually pushing Russian bots. And we've seen, don't get the impeachment, right? Oh man, Trump threatened the Ukrainian president and said he's going to withhold money. It turned out Biden was literally guilty of that. And there was a whole video about it. So I think we've seen this pattern of projection if they're guilty of something, what they do is try to preempt that story by blaming the other person, like their opponent or the opposition.
Yeah, you know, what is it in psychology? They have a term, and that is deny, project, attack. Right? It ain't me, it's you, and now I'm going to attack you for that. But what's interesting, I think, from a legal perspective, there's something to think about here. For quite a while, the argument has been when people say, well, my speech is being violated by Facebook or by social media company. The argument is, well, they're not a government entity. So as a private company, you don't have constitutional rights with them. They can cut you off anytime they want, right? Mm-hmm. However, let me give you this. And you know my background, I was in law enforcement and I was a law enforcement official, et cetera. Okay, and so, you know, I taught a lot of this stuff in college. And this really, to me, I think there is a legal case that's starting to arise that social media acts as an agent for the government, and therefore they should be held to the restrictions. They should be held accountable for the the restrictions in the First Amendment. Mm-hmm. So here's what I'm saying. Okay, a police officer can't just break into your house and look and see whatever it is, the body, right, and then charge you for it, because that would be an illegal search. That would be a warrantless search. That information would not be allowed. That evidence would not be admitted into court. It was illegally obtained, right?
That's how it's supposed to go. Yes.
Right. Okay. So let's say I'm a policeman, if you as a civilian break into the house and come back out. Now it's illegal to break into the house, but you come back out and you say to me, Mr. Policeman, I saw a body in there. I can act on that. Even though you illegally went in the house, you didn't need a warrant because you're not a cop. I got this information for somebody else who went in there. So I can now use it and I can go arrest the person. The body's in there. That can be introduced in court. Here's the thing though. I'm a policeman. I can't say to you, go break in that house and come back and tell me what you see. Why? Because then you're acting as an agent for me.
Yes.
If you're acting for an agent for me and you go in there, you would be held by the same constitutional standards as me. I told you to do something and you did it. The government told you to do something and you did it. You're acting as an agent for the government. You can't claim, well, the other person, I'll put it like that, the other person can still say the government violated my constitutional rights.
Yes.
Now, Jen Psaki and the Biden administration has clearly said, look, we scour Facebook, we go to Facebook, we tell them drop something, take this down, they take it down, which means they're acting as an agent for the Biden administration. Mm-hmm.
Jen Psaki,
which means at that point, in my opinion, your constitutional rights have been violated. They didn't act as a corporation. They acted as an agent for the government. The government can't say to somebody, go violate their constitutional rights. That's doing an end around the Constitution. They can't say, you go do it, and then I'll take the information from
real quick.
So,
go ahead. I'm young. I'm only 32 years old, so I haven't lived a lot of life. But I feel like there might be a word for whenever the government is acting on behalf of the corporations, and then the corporations act on behalf of the government for the government, and then everybody else gets thrown under the bus. Is there a word for that, Garland?
Fascism.
Oh shit! But I thought
fascism is one of the words.
No. Because what I was told was when we got Biden in, we defeated fascism. So are you telling me I was misled, Garland? Because I would be a little upset because I was promised the end of fascism.
Yeah, that is the original definition of fascism from Italy. Fasci, which is a fasci, I believe, means just like a bunch of sticks put together. And what they argued is if you put a bunch of sticks together, 3 sticks together, then it's stronger if you've only got 1 stick, right? Well, that makes sense. But fasci, that turned into fascism. And in fascism, from the Italian perspective, was the government and the corporations come together as one. Now you have the Biden administration literally saying, we look over Facebook, we see something we don't like, we go to Facebook, take it down, Facebook takes it down. I think there's an argument, exactly what you're saying. That's just one entity. Yeah. There's no delineation between the government.
So Trump, right? Like, I know everybody hates hearing this, but Convo Couch is there. They watched the whole thing happen. Trump did not incite he literally said, go home. Like he told people to go home, after his speech. And also, Garland, you live in DC. You know that they were covering all of the radio. They knew that event was going to happen. They pretend like they didn't. But there were people telling there were Congress people tweeting out, if Twitter doesn't take out off Trump, then Amazon should take them off their servers, and I will make sure that happens, like, or make sure they're punished otherwise. They didn't introduce legislation. They didn't go through the democratic process. They didn't go through the legislative process. They used their power to usurp the democratic process to get the end result that they wanted. And when you don't go through that due process in the motions that you need to make sure that process is justified, then you end up in a situation where the man who's supposed to be the most powerful person in the world can be removed from all social media platforms without question by the very entities that are supposed to, that also told him he couldn't block somebody because he was a public figure, which is even weirder. So at what point do we stop pretending like these particular platforms that manage to skyrocket above everybody else are actually separate from the government? Because when the government calls them in to discuss things like Article 230, like they did last year or this year, actually, nothing happened, right? Nothing happened. No, it was last year, right? Nothing happened. But it seems to be there was an understanding of the Democrats were very aware that they were going to get their power back, right? And for whatever reason, we can debate that later, but they knew. And they were kind of almost threatening Facebook, y'all not going hard enough for us. Y'all are not doing enough censorship, actually. AOC said that herself. And it was almost a warning, like, you're going to do what we tell you to do, or we're going to punish you for it. We're going to remove your protections that we are giving you. We're the ones who insured it to you. And you can be sued like everybody else. So to stop, a lot of it, I think they're politically aligned with them, but to stop the punishment from the government, who's very clearly doling out punishment wherever they see any type of just pushback and any type of opposition, like all the big tech companies, like, nope, we gotta do what they want. We gotta do what they want, regardless of if we agree with it or not. So it's the government, basically. So let's stop pretending they're not.
Let's not forget that at the beginning of the whole Russiagate fiasco debacle, the Congress asked Facebook for information, of what's going on there, of Russian miscreant activity. And Facebook said, we didn't find anything. And they went back again and asked them, we didn't find anything. And finally, Mark Warner, the chairman of, a very powerful senator, I think he's the technology committee, but a powerful guy, particularly when it comes to Silicon Valley, visited Facebook headquarters. And then after that, they were like, yeah, we found something. I mean, it was an intimidation thing. So now what happens? Facebook knows, okay, we know the game. So now the Atlantic Council's Digital Forensic Lab, which the Atlantic Council is literally partially funded by the United States government.
Yes.
The Atlantic Council gets hired by Facebook to help curate their information and get rid of disinformation. So the reality is this is a game they're playing. And as we keep discussing, and people who are facing these kinds of things keep discussing, they know, they just see it as an end around the Constitution. I want to shut down alternative voices, and we're unable to do it. And if you look at this, the thing about what I said was, there's no way that, when you look at the claims made by Hunter Biden here, very specifically, it is identical to the infamous PP tape that was alleged to have existed in the Steele dossier, alleged to have existed. But here's the difference. The FBI admitted that when they went and talked to the people that Christopher Steele got this information from, the guy that they got the information from said, well, no, it was just talk amongst the people who were drinking. I didn't think he was going to take it serious. It wasn't meant to be taken serious. The FBI knew that. But here you have Hunter Biden literally admitting to it. And I'll put it like this. It's not just the Daily Mail. You can find it all over the place. So apparently at least Facebook has decided, we are not going to allow people to post things that would embarrass the president. That's all it is. They're acting as a defense team or something, an online defense team, saying you can't say anything. That after 4 years of, and I'm to the left of both parties, but after 4 years of, there's nothing you can't say about Trump that they wouldn't allow. Anything, any Republican, any Rand Paul, you can put up any meme, you can attack them in any way. But if you say something, if you just bring up the name Hunter Biden, then all of a sudden you're out, get out of here, and you're suspended.
And this isn't the first instance that we've seen this, right? During the election, like his emails, like confirmed, verifiably his emails get leaked. The New York Post just published the emails. Just they did a job, honestly. If they got those emails and didn't publish them, I would have a serious problem with that. That's good journalism. The emails drop. They get not only that, but confirmation from an actual Democrat. Somebody's like, yeah, I'm a Democrat, actually. I've only ever donated to Democrats. Yeah, everything in those emails is true. He said, I'm just being honest because I don't want this to come back on me. And they punished New York Post for publishing. I mean, for the same reason they're punishing Julian Assange, right? For just publishing, for doing their job. And they made it very clear that now it's before they're like, yeah, we'll entertain this idea, like we're actually just trying to stop misinformation. We'll entertain that. But now they're like, nah, we're just gonna be straight up. We don't like the fact that you're going against our guy, so we're gonna stop it from happening. They did that to Whitney Webb when she was publishing stuff, and she got banned off of Patreon. They sent her an email when she sent back all the verifiable primary sources that she was using, and they were like, yeah, but still, sorry, we don't like the stuff that you're saying, so we're just gonna keep you off. That's where we're at now, and it's terrifying. It's terrifying because I feel like enough people don't take it seriously.
It kind of reminds me, there was a 60 Minutes piece that you can still find, a guy named Tyler Drumheiler, who is in charge, who is a CIA guy in charge of Europe. And just before the attack on Iraq, the invasion of Iraq, he said, you can find it online. He said, I went to Bush team and I said to them, good news. And that is that we've turned some top people there with the CIA, and we can just tell you definitively that there are no weapons of mass destruction. And he said they just looked at him with a cold, icy stare and said, this isn't about that. This is about regime change. Right. And that's kind of what we're looking at. You can't put this thing up about Hunter Biden because it could be Russian disinformation. You know what's interesting about it? Yeah, it could be wrong. It could be altered. You know who didn't make that claim? Hunter Biden.
Facts.
They were claiming it could be fake, and it was like, Hunter Biden, is it fake? So how about those bears? Hunter Biden's changing the subject.
When I covered it, what they said was, we don't know exactly that it's true. That was their argument for taking it down completely. Like, yeah. What? Well, hold on. Do you know if it's not true? Because, like, I once again, so it goes back to, if they could take this stuff down, how do we know we're not getting misinformation about COVID and how it's being handled, right? Because this is one of the most serious issues of our generation, not just from a healthcare perspective, but from a livelihood perspective. People, like, there are more suicides amongst people our my age than actual COVID deaths because of just the circumstances that the situation's created. And then we had a whole year of everybody talking about acting like hydroxychloroquine was like Clorox. You know, like that's what they acted like. And then CNN had to quietly retract it, like, our bad. It's like, hold up, no. Y'all were kicking doctors off of y'all's platforms, saying that they were spreading fake news by sharing trials of hydroxychloroquine. And you just quiet, like, people died. People died because of y'all just unilaterally deciding to remove these people. And there is no ramifications for the consequences of these actions. That's what's the craziest thing to me. There's none. People died. Everybody talk about it's all about saving lives. It's all about maintaining information and make sure it's honest and truthful. Like, nah, people died, bro. Like, people really died because y'all took people down who are telling the truth. Like, this story is important. It is an important story. He is admitting that he didn't say the stuff on my laptop isn't true. He's like, it's true, and it can be used as blackmail against my dad when he runs. That's a story. That is basically explaining to us how Biden does have some questionable foreign ties that make his intentions at the bare minimum a little bit questionable regarding how he's handling himself with that executive power. Like Garland said, because when this was Trump, even when it wasn't true, it was all true. We had to assume it was true until otherwise proven. And even if it was proven true, if you talked about how untrue it was, then you'll be banned from Twitter.
Well, and there was even an instance where Rachel Maddow, you can probably find that tape somewhere. She was talking to someone about one of these possible potential rumors about Trump and Russia. And then she said, yes, they could use that to blackmail him. And basically the guy said, well, it's not true. And there's basically it doesn't. He said, if I remember correctly, the guy said, well, this doesn't even rise to the level of a rumor. And basically, and Rachel Maddow said, yeah, but they could still use it, couldn't it? And the guy was like, no, they couldn't use it. It doesn't even rise to the level of a rumor.
I don't know if you know what those words mean.
All you had to do was use, a noun, a verb, and the words Trump and Putin in it, and that was good enough for them. But now, the road you're going down is correct. They don't even care anymore. They're not even making an effort to come up with a lie. Well, we threw it off of them. No, forget it. You said Hunter Biden. It's our platform. We're just not going to allow you to say Hunter Biden unless you say something like Hunter Biden is wonderful and Joe's wonderful and everybody should vote for Hunter and Joe. That's allowed. But anything, you can't even repost a valid, true story if it's one about Hunter Biden.
With the videos, with the clips,
yeah.
With his words, with his emails.
That's the worst kind.
Right? I know, right? If anything, Hunter better be lucky that somebody's just covering what happened rather than literally quoting him in any of these stories. Good guy, y'all. It reads like a Donnie Darko movie or something, like it's I mean, even that Daily Mail article, you're like, bro, is he pillow talking to a prostitute about how he's going to end up getting his dad blackmailed? Like, what?
And let's face it,
it's like a bad plot to like a political movie, right?
Yeah, and they couldn't blackmail him for this reason. How? This wouldn't even, I mean, they'd be like, hey, guess what? We've got videotape of you with a prostitute saying things you shouldn't say. And people online would be like, yeah, who doesn't have that video? You know what I mean? It's like, you really, that's not something you can blackmail Hunter Biden with. You're going to offer the video? Hey, I've got some video of Hunter Biden with a hooker, and people will be like, "Yeah, I think I got a couple of gigs of that myself. You want some of mine?"
Did you go to his Facebook? I'm sure they're up there, right? Like
exactly. Yeah, you gonna? That's not even blackmailable, and that's like common knowledge. You can probably find that at the library. They probably got a section, under fiction and self-help books, and then Hunter Biden prostitution and drug book. It's a whole section there.
Absolutely, and so. With specifically regarding Hunter Biden, though, I think what's scary about like the way he's being protected because of obviously what it means to Joe Biden, like what it would mean to his career. But like they went to such a degree to protect him that they were like, let's try an impeachment mid-election that ultimately actually ended up making Trump more popular just so we don't have to see him held accountable, which will ultimately lead to Joe Biden being held accountable. Like they're acting flagrant with your democratic process, with your tax dollars, bruh. Like once again, they could have been using that time to pass healthcare, but they decided, hey, let's introduce an impeachment we know will not pass because they were that desperate to help Hunter Biden or to protect him and to protect the guy that all the Democratic candidates seem to like jump on, right? Because clearly he was one of the easy targets. But when it came to protecting Hunter Biden, which they knew meant protecting Joe Biden, nothing. Like not even the Black Caucus, like with the way that Black people were treated in the crack era. And that's us, bro. I don't know if y'all know how Black people were treated in the military, but don't even get caught smoking weed. Don't even get a DUI. If you were smoking crack, you're going to jail in the military first. You're going to Lejeune, and then you're going to jail once you get out. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah. Well, and see, here's the other thing too. I think there's more to it than that, and that is that Hunter Biden is the key to something. Hunter Biden, there's a lot. Once you start talking about Hunter Biden and all the money he made, then you start talking about Ukraine. Then you start talking about the fact that the U.S. overthrew the government of Ukraine. And then you start talking about the fact that all of these politicians went into Ukraine and you, through graft, through briberies, through corruption, filled their pockets. Through Ukraine. Recently, Joe Biden had this guy named Amos Hochstein, and this name, and he says, yeah, I'm going to get Amos Hochstein. Amos Hochstein is going to stop the Russians and the Germans from doing Nord Stream 2. And I Google the guy's name. I use DuckDuckGo. Excuse me. I searched for the guy's name. And the first thing I see is he was on the board of the state gas company in Ukraine.
Yep.
So when Joe Biden's people went in and they got paid, Amos Hochstein, all the rest of these ghouls, we overthrew the government of Ukraine, and they went in, they got on the boards of their gas companies, the boards of their companies, graft, corruption, they filled their pockets. So Hunter Biden is more than just a guy with a substance abuse problem. And you know what? Here's what I have to say. I've had family members. We've all had friends, loved ones who had substance abuse problems. We understand that. Now that we say it's unfair that a brother with a substance abuse problem is going to jail. Hunter Biden is just going to sell paintings for $500,000 that look like, you know, your 4-year-old daughter could do better with finger painting.
Facts.
But once you get into the Hunter Biden conversation, you start getting below that to a whole lot of crooked politicians that was eating real good off of Ukraine.
Facts. Oh, Nancy Pelosi. I mean, yeah, because it goes back to the Atlantic Council, and then like turn one of the politicians from the Ukraine were involved in it, and it's like then you figure, and the Clinton Foundation, of course, like always inevitably pops up. It's that. Yep. I mean that's a rabbit hole that basically it's snaked all throughout the entire Democratic establishment leadership when it comes right down to it, and. What people always, it was funny because it's just like going back to the impeachment. Everybody, I'm like, I don't understand why anybody's taking this impeachment serious. And they're like, well, I'm like, so you're telling me the one guy they're not gonna call to the stand is the guy that they're claiming that Trump bullied, the president of Ukraine? They're just not gonna call him? Like I thought that he was he was the thing that the person that they were trying to protect. Why wouldn't they just let him talk? Because they knew what he was gonna say. Same thing he's been saying. No, he didn't. That's not what this is about. And then he would probably even talk about the fact that they had initiated the investigation into the corruption that had taken the previous Ukrainian administration via the United States and all their little puppets. Like that started about a year and some change before the impeachment even began. And that's what it was really about. It was like they were about to expose everything. And then people got caught up in the theater again. That's what happened instead of reading play on the field.
Trump pointed to Ukraine and they were like, don't point over there because we don't want people turning over those rocks because we had been doing a whole lot of dirt in Ukraine. And what Trump didn't realize was he didn't know the rules. And he didn't realize you can attack the Democrats and both parties, you can attack each other, but not for corruption. Attack them for partisan things. You can call them a commie. You can do anything in the world. But don't bring up corruption because we're all getting paid off of corruption and you're going to screw this thing up. And Ukraine was a place where they all got paid and still are.
That is true, man. That is so true. So real quick, Garland, let everybody know where they can find you at because my cat's getting hungry. He says he's ready to go. He's ready to go.
All right. If you want to get in touch with me at Garland Nixon on Twitter, I got my Garland Nixon YouTube, Garland.Nixon on Instagram. Email garlandin@gmail.com, and I'm on Sputnik Monday through Friday from 6 to 8 p.m. on Radio Sputnik in Washington, D.C. The name of the show is The Critical Hour. Fridays, WPFW 89.3 FM in Washington, D.C. I'm there on the Pacifica.
And shout out to Dr. William Leon from The Critical Hour show, too. Y'all can catch me on there. I'm on there a lot. It's always fun. Like I said, guys, go follow Garland on Twitter and go shout him out and show him a lot of love. Because like I said, yo, we got to stick together, guys. It's getting harder and harder and harder to just literally post the articles from the mainstream media now. We can't even do that. It's a problem. So, Garland, are you a creator on Rockfin yet?
I am not. No, I just joined Rockfin about a week ago. I haven't set myself up as a creator, but I will be shortly. Yeah,
definitely got to do that. And so be looking out for Garland on Rockfin too. And all those people at KPFK in California, you can check that show out there as well. So everybody, thank you all so much for tuning into this live stream segment of Mikasa Sukasa. Don't forget to like this video. Don't forget to share this video. But of course, more importantly, more than anything else, always remember, find your balance. Peace.